Diggs, sideline, touchdown. Pass is intercepted at the goal line. Up for it. Blocked by James. Curry way downtown.
Welcome back to the 2020 podcast, where hindsight is 2020 and the takes are 10 out of 10. Drew, we have a very special episode today because we're only, a couple of weeks away, a couple of Sundays away from regular season, meaningful, not the Hall of Fame game, but meaningful football, which means we only got maybe an episode 2 randomly left until we get to meaningful football. I can't be more excited right now, and I can't be more excited for today's episode, where we have one hot take per NFL team. We're going to go break this down division by division, starting with the NFC West. Hope everyone's excited for that. But before we get into any of that, Drew, how are we doing today?
Let's go. We are back as a podcast. We are back as the NFL is rolling. Every year, man, I get excited about this time of year because my baseball team starts to... And so then it's like, all right, Giants, you're out of here. Let's switch over to the 49ers. So, yeah, I'm excited to get going. I'm excited to argue about some hot takes this year. And mostly, I'm excited. I feel like this is my final evolution as a football fan. I am just excited for all things football this year. And if the Niners are disappointing or whatever, I'm just excited. The week 1 slate, we got 49ers Seahawks, we got Cowboys Eagles, we got Texans Rams. It's gonna be a hell of a week 1, and I cannot wait. And we got a Friday night football game to kick off the season.
Yep.
So I'm excited to get going. I'm excited to see which one of us is right or wrong, and it's go time, baby. It's the best time of the year, NFL season.
Unfortunately, it's usually me that's wrong. And with some of these predictions today, I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong on quite a few of these. Some of these for me, I'm doubling down on some of the things that we talked about with whether it was our schedule predictions or our top 10 per position rankings. If you guys want to check that out, it's on YouTube, breaking it down per team per position. So a lot of it's doubling down on some of the things that we talked about, whether I think of certain players inside that top 10. Some of it's stuff that we didn't get to because those players weren't in the top 10. And some things are negative instead of the positive things. So we can go ahead and jump into it unless you have something else.
Hey, you know what? This is my second favorite episode of the season that we do, the prediction show. And then my first favorite episode is when we go back and review the prediction show to see how close we were on a bunch of crap. So I'm excited to get this stuff out on video and audio. This is why we started this podcast, so we could capture the wild crap that we say sometimes. No, Buddy Hield was not better than Devin Booker. I get it. So here we are to get those things on camera, on film, and out there to the masses. So let's get it.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and start off with the NFC West. We usually start off with the AFC. I feel like 9 times out of 10, every single time we do a predictions thing or we talk about anything division by division, we always start on the other side of things. Try to make sure that we spend as least time with our teams as possible, but we're going to go and switch it up and start off with the NFC West. And let's start with the LA Rams, where I'll go ahead and go first. I have a medium take here, doubling down on a player that you and I both love a lot. I think that Mr. Jared Verse is going to lead the league in forced fumbles this year with 5+. TJ Watt had 6 this past season, and I think he's going to have 5 or more. He had 2 last year. We know what he can do. We're big fans of his. We followed him throughout the draft process last year and all last year as well with our rookie rankings, our rookies of the week. I think he could very much impact the game beyond just the sacks, but the forced fumbles as well.
You know what, man? This is one of my spiciest takes.
Okay.
And I think in the prediction show and a couple other times, ranking show, I've talked about the downfall of the Rams. So I kept with that. The 49ers used to have a tight end. His name was Vernon Davis, and Vernon Davis had a brother. Do you know what that brother was famous for?
I mean,
he retired
mid-game.
halftime in the middle of the game. So my spicy prediction for this upcoming football season is that Matthew Stafford announces his NFL retirement before the end of this NFL season.
Wow.
Now, maybe that's in the playoffs after they miss the playoffs, but I do believe that this is Matt Stafford's last year as an NFL quarterback, and he will be announcing that retirement during the current NFL season.
Wow. Okay, so I'm with you on definitely thinking that this is Matthew Stafford's last year, but there's consensus is the Rams are going to be very good this year. Not only very good, a lot of people have them winning the division, but you think obviously doubling down on our schedule predictions, missing the playoffs and retiring potentially midseason, or just as soon as they're out of the playoff running, he's out of there.
Yeah, shocker. The 49er fan doesn't believe in the Rams this year.
That's okay. I'm doubling down on some of the Eagles stuff just to be an asshole. Not the Jalen Hurts thing. Okay, so we could put that to bed for the meantime and watch how the season goes with that. Damn, okay, yeah. That's a crazy way to start it. We can, move right.
You picked a good team to start with. That's why I was laughing so hard. Hey, I'm gonna get my highlighter out here, and I'm gonna make sure to keep these pieces of paper. And when we go back and review this, I'm just gonna circle this one right here as one of my spicies. So
let's go ahead and move into the Seattle Seahawks, a team that is a little bit polarizing on how well or disappointing they can be this season. Obviously, the number one thing is going to be their quarterback, but I'm not going to be talking about their quarterback today. This is one of my hot takes, and that is doubling down on my Jackson Smith and Jigba stuff, where I said he was going to be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL this upcoming season. I put him right there at number 10, and I think he's going to lead the league in receptions with over 120. And on top of that, I still think he's going to break 1,300 yards. He had 1,100 yards last year. He had around 100 receptions as well. He has that potential to break into the 120 and the 1,300 yards. I don't think it's that outrageous, but leading the league in receptions overall is the part that's a little bit spicier, especially bringing in a guy like Cooper Kupp. A lot of people are going to point to that in our comment section. Well, Cooper Kupp and the target share percentage, and his target share percentage, JSN, was 23.1%. It can jump up to 30%. We haven't seen a good year out of Cooper Kupp in how long now? We're putting a lot of stake into a guy that, yes, won the Triple Crown, had one of the best Triple Crown seasons of all time, but hasn't done much since, a lot of it due to injuries. Can he stay healthy? We know what JSN can do as of just recently last year, what he's supposed to be doing coming out of college, and he is doing that thing. I think he's going to be the number one wide receiver by far. I think he's going to eat up a lot of those short yardage situations. And with Lockett gone, with DK gone, I think he's going to do a lot more in the long range game as well.
Spicy. I'm disappointed to learn that you're so high on the Seahawks offense this year. I'm hoping they only win 2 or 3 games to make my team's life easier. But my prediction for the Seahawks this year is a little bit in line with your thought of their explosive offense. And my expectation for the Seattle Seahawks is my guy, Kenneth Walker III, is going to lead the NFL in red zone touchdowns this year.
You don't think Zach Charbonnet can sneak a lot of those out from him? It's a power back.
I don't believe in vultures, okay? I'm not a vulture guy. I don't believe in drafting Kenneth Walker III in fantasy because you know what he could do, and then he doesn't get any carries within the 5, okay? I don't believe in that. I think that's BS. So I'm expecting these to be 7-yard carries, 9-yard carries, 8-yard carries, getting into the end zone, doing a little dance, and Kenneth Walker leads the league in red zone touchdowns.
Yeah, he just posted on his TikTok what touchdown dances should he be doing this year. And you know what the comment section said? I just want to see you healthy. I don't care about the touchdown. We'll see how that one goes. I hope so, man. He's a talented receiver or running back, and honestly, how many running backs has Seattle gone through that have just been unhealthy, talented but unhealthy? Thomas Rawls comes to mind in recent memory, and K9 is right there on talented but hasn't been able to put it together because of the health concerns.
It's an interesting year for the division on a whole. Everybody's picking the Rams, but if you told me that the Seahawks did it this year and Kyler Murray bounced back to the form we know that he can do, 2020 form, and the Rams and the Niners both missed the playoffs, like when you look at the talent across the division, if you look at the rosters, it wouldn't be that surprising if this is one of those divisions this year that's like everybody goes 3-3. So we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, everyone's going to be competing for a playoff spot, especially with the opponents that you guys go up against, the divisions that you're playing. I think everyone's going to be competing in one way or another for some sort of playoff spot. Those graphics are going to go up for who's in the hunt, and I think you're going to see a lot of NFC West this season.
What you got for the Cards?
I have a medium. I feel like there's a lot of people expect this, but wouldn't be surprised if it didn't completely go through. I would be surprised if this didn't go through. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, is going to earn his first Pro Bowl selection. One, the Pro Bowl selection it's a name-based thing, right? It's a popularity contest. He has that popularity because of the name, being drafted highly. But not only that, I think he's going to have a great season. I think he's going to have over 1,100 yards, 1,150, 1,200 is, I think the ballpark is where he's going to be at. But I think he's going to have 10-plus touchdowns. Outside of Trey McBride, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the target out there. Obviously, they have a great pair of running backs in the backfield, but there's a lot of issues with the offensive line and questions on how Kyler Murray is potentially going to play and how healthy he's going to be. But I don't think there's a lot of question in my mind how talented Marvin Harrison Jr. is and can be in the flashes that he did have. I think he's going to put it all together and earn his first Pro Bowl selection. Again, a lot of that basing it off of the name and the talent, but the name is there.
Hey, you know what? If Marvin Harrison is balling out, and that means Kyler Murray's balling out too, and my prediction for the Cardinals this year is Kyler Murray leads NFL quarterbacks in rushing yards this year. If you go back to some of his most successful seasons in 2020, he averaged 9 yards per carry. And I think if the Cardinals want to win some games, they got to get back to that type of production from him at the quarterback spot. So I expect him to be throwing bombs to Marvin Harrison Jr., and when he ain't open, he just gets up, scrambles around, and gains those first downs, moves the chain. So Kyler Murray leads the league in quarterback rushing yards.
And there's a lot of, obviously, the quarterbacks now in the play and how the rushing quarterback actually impacts the game nowadays. There's a lot of contestants for that. Obviously, Lamar is always going to be a contestant for that. Anthony Richardson, if he plays a full season, can potentially be a contestant for that. I think there's a lot of people who can contest. Kyler's a good pick, though. I like it.
You're welcome.
All right. I always like doing 49ers predictions because I'm always interested to see where your head is at with some of these that I make. And I'm like, I sit there and I make the prediction. I'm like, what does he think about some of the stuff that I'm about to say?
I feel like when you give analysis on the 49ers, you're so level-headed, you're fair, you're objective. And then when I talk about the Cowboys, it's like, I hate Cowboys. Like, I predict that an asteroid hits Dallas Stadium and the Cowboys are removed from the NFL forever. Like, that's the kind of crazy crap I come up with when it comes to the Cowboys. And you over here with the 49ers, like, I think that George Kittle's going to be a top 3 fantasy tight end this year. So anyways, let's hear it.
I think this is one of my hotter takes as well because I don't think people think he's going to lead his team in receiving yards. But I do think Ricky Pearsall has that potential. Yes, this is one of my hotter takes. One, we have a lot of uncertainty right now of Brandon Ayuk coming back from injury, where he's going to actually be at explosiveness. We know what he can do. We know about the separation. We know how much talent he actually has. But coming back from injury, where is he going to stand in the team, in the locker room, and Shanahan's system? We know people can be put in the doghouse pretty easily with him. Juwan Jennings, I know he has this nagging hamstring injury throughout camp. That's a big concern. Any type of soft tissue injury. Any type of soft tissue injury I'm going to be concerned about, especially if it's nagging. The Cowboys have a rookie corner right now that has a nagging hamstring injury, and he's playing through it through camp. And I'm not super confident in what's going to go on there. I have some Juwan Jennings concerns because of that. I think it leads Ricky Pearsall, especially with Debo being gone, Ricky Pearsall to come in and take a lot of those reps that some of these guys should be getting, but aren't getting. So I think Ricky's going to get a lot of, especially with a full camp and first team reps, I think he's going to be getting a lot of the targets. Week 17 and 18, it's very small sample size, 14 catches, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 21.7% target share, being the main guy for those 2 weeks. He's shown that he can do it in a small sample size. Can he potentially do it for an entire season is going to be the question here. And like I said, with the Ayuk question marks, the Jennings question marks, Obviously, Kittle's still there, and Kittle is Kittle. I don't have any questions there. McCaffrey, what's his role going to be in this situation? I think he's going to take any and all of those Debo snaps of the short yardage things. I think Christian McCaffrey takes all of them. So I'm a little concerned about the workload for him, but I think Pearsall takes the receiving yards this year for the Niners.
Interesting. A little note on Juwan Jennings. It's actually a calf injury.
Okay, yeah.
And that might give you shades of Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
I would be a little bit more concerned if he also wasn't looking for a new contract. So how legit this injury is versus how legit it's not. I'm not saying it's fake.
Yeah.
But maybe he's just faking a knee injury a la Seth Rollins over there so he can show up and shock the world. Who knows? As far as my 49ers prediction goes, I'm just going to read exactly what I wrote and see what you think about it. Survives attempted murder and makes the Pro Bowl. Ricky Pearsall is the 49ers' number one wide receiver.
And for clarification, we don't talk to each other 9 times out of 10 about what predictions we have. We throw flyers out there. I knew what his Jaguars and Cowboys one was. Outside of that, no talks about the 49ers takes.
Yeah, I gave you my Cowboys and my Jags, and you gave me the Jackson Smith and Jigba. So That's all we talked about here. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall spent all summer down in Florida working out together, trying to work out that timing. Brock Purdy has been forcing the ball to Ricky Pearsall since he came back. Obviously, he started the year on the PUP list, but he's come back and he's in camp now. And realistically, Juwan Jennings isn't practicing. Brandon Ayuk obviously isn't practicing. Denard Robinson, who looks like he might be our number 2 going into the season, except for he might be facing a suspension, has looked okay. We've cut and re-signed Andy Isabella a couple times. We've cut and re-signed St. Brown a couple times and not Amon-Ra, the little brother. So, yeah, I mean, it's Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle, and basically bust at this point because I'm hoping they've reduced the workload on Christian McCaffrey this year. So there we go. We are only 4 takes in, and we got one that we agreed on. So that's pretty good so far.
I know. I thought it would take a lot longer than that, honestly. Let's go to move out of the NFC West and into the South, a division that is always entertaining to talk about because of
who?
Exactly, because of the who and because of the team that is going to be obviously competing at the top, and that's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is probably my mildest take out of all of them.
We're going to have the same one, I bet.
And I'm going with Baker Mayfield. He completed 70% of his passes last year, which is really good. And I think he's going to go back-to-back on that. So 71.4% last year. He hadn't done that in his career ever before. I think he's going to go back-to-back with that. I don't think that he's going to have a slump off, especially with the weapons that are around him. You look at, obviously, Mike Evans is still there. Chris Godwin's coming back from injury, but you have obviously a brand new rookie wide receiver that they just drafted 19th, and he's going to be heavily involved. Obviously, you have Bucky Irving out of the backfield. You have Rachaad White, who's great out of the backfield and receiving catches. This is a really talented team, especially on offense, and being in the 70% is not going to be out of the norm for him. I think he's going to go back-to-back on that season. Again, one of my milder takes. But the Bucs aren't. I didn't want to go super crazy on all of them. You have to have mild takes in here, and I chose the Bucs for that.
Chris Godwin's coming back from injury. What year are we doing this podcast? 19, 20, 21, 22? My mild spicy take for the Bucs, in which I thought we were going to be on the same page. Which, if you're expecting a good year for Baker Mayfield, it makes sense. But Mr. Mike Evans, he got 1,000 yards last year. By the skin of his teeth, last game of the year. I think the defense gave it to him. That's fine. I'm okay with it. Quarterback falls over to give the last sack to break the record. We've seen this before. I think Mike Evans blows by the 1,000-yard mark with ease this year. He stays healthy, and that will give him the 12th straight season of 1,000 yards rushing. I have always been a massive Mike Evans fan, and the reason for that is because it's crazy that it's been 12 straight years, because the first year that I watched college football was Johnny Manziel running around like crazy at Texas A&M and just hucking it up to Mike Evans. And that is the first year that I started watching college football, and I've always been a massive Mike Evans fan. So shout out to him and his career. It's been amazing, and I hope he caps it off here with another 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, I got really close to the same Mike Evans take, and I switched it to a milder take with the Baker Mayfield thing. So we were going to have the same take there for a minute. Let's go ahead and move into another polarizing team, and that's the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like there's another polarizing team inside this division, but I have a medium take.
I'm spicy in this division, I promise you.
Okay.
The spice is coming here.
I wasn't sure if this is a medium take or a hot take because of how bad the Atlanta Falcons pass rush has been over the last 3 years. They just drafted 2 edge rushers in the first round, James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. James Pierce Jr. I was extremely high on in the draft, and I like Jalen Walker a lot, especially in the system that they play in for Atlanta. I think they got drafted to the perfect places. I think they combine for at least 15 plus sacks. And again, it's more of a medium take. It could potentially be called a hot take just because of how bad the Falcons pass rush has been. And on top of that, James Pierce is not listed as the starter currently, but I think he's going to make his impact very quickly. Again, I'm very high on James Pierce Jr. coming into this season. Again, 15 plus sacks combined as rookies. I don't think either one of them is going to be in contention for Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think that those honors go off to a couple of different people, but Pierce and Walker 15 plus. What do you got?
I like the fact that you're blending up the offense and the defense pretty well. I think I was very offensive heavily with these predictions because
it's easy
those are the crazy ones. But my NFL prediction is that the NFL has a receptions leader, and he comes from the Atlanta Falcons. Who do you think I'm going with?
Oh, you're going with Kyle Pitts, right?
Yeah, that dude's trash. Drake London was going to lead the NFL in receptions this year. That is my prediction for the Atlanta Falcons. And yes, that means that Michael Penix is going to have a hell of a year.
I'm with you with the Penix stuff. Absolutely. Because I love Penix and I hope he does extremely well. I do think it's interesting that we both have reception leaders coming from 2 separate places that I don't think most people have the reception leaders at. And that's coming out of Seattle and Atlanta. Atlanta being the more surprising one out of the 2, I think. A Drake London receptions leader. Interesting. Okay.
Let's just get some new blood into the season this year, man. If you're drafting Justin Jefferson at the top, if you're taking Jamar Chase at the top, if you're drafting CeeDee Lamb at the top, I got news for you. You made a mistake. We got some new blood coming this year. It's going to be an exciting season, and I think this is the year that the new wave takes over the NFL a little bit.
Yeah, it very well could be. Oh, man. I'm usually so hot on the Carolina Panthers, and I usually come
Let's
in.
do the Saints. Let's do the
Okay.
Saints. Let's do the Saints. I got something special for you for the Panthers,
All
so let's
right.
do the Saints.
The Saints, I have a mild to medium one, and the only reason I say it's a mild one is because he has been in potential trade talks for a while now. But I think Chris Olave gets traded by midseason. I think he's gone. I think the Saints are... Where are the Saints at right now? They don't have a quarterback. They have Alvin Kamara, who is there, isn't there. He's still solid. The offensive line isn't good. The receiving core outside of Olave isn't good. I guess Rashid Shaheed, cool. Yes, I do remember week 2 of last year when he blew us up. I do remember that very vividly. The defense is where are we at with the Saints? I think hauling off Olave to a different team for some type of compensation is going to be the best thing for the Saints and for Olave as well. Get him out of an area that's just giving him hospital balls and just constantly giving this man concussions. I think his trade value remains high, but the injury concern is there because the amount of concussions and injuries that he has sustained while in New Orleans, getting hospital balls from a plethora of quarterbacks that like to give them out. Derek Carr. So yeah, man, I think he should be gone by midseason. So again, it's a milder take because he has been in the trade talks for a whole year now at this point, but medium because it is a potential wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 being hauled off somewhere else.
Yeah, I think the Saints are going to shock the world. And on the back of Alvin Kamara, they are going to rack up 8 wins in this NFL season with a plethora of starting quarterbacks.
So you're telling me that, oh man, a plethora too?
I'm telling you that Alvin Kamara gets Offensive Player of the Year votes this year.
Okay. Man, I'm so low on the Saints. There's teams where I could be brought up from being low on, like looking at the Cardinals and their roster and diving deeper on them. I'm like, okay, I was probably rough on them. I could probably give out some more wins to them. Like, I could be brought up pretty easily there. But I'm like, the Saints, I don't know how much I could be brought up from, I think, my 1 or 2 wins I give
The
them.
Saints go marching in.
Oh, man.
When the Saints go marching
Oh,
in.
no.
Hey, that's why we do this, baby.
Okay, you have something special for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to let you go first on this one because, again, I'm usually really hot on them. I'm a milder take on this one because I'm always at 1,000 degrees with the Panthers, but I decided to hold off a little bit on this one.
Hey, I'm going to let you decide whether it's injury concerns or just lack of playability. But when we look up at the end of the season, Andy Dalton starts more games for the Carolina Panthers than Bryce Young.
No. We're not doing that. No, we're not doing that shit. No. Bryce Young is the starter, and he will be the starter for the Carolina Panthers. He has no injury concerns. He's going to break 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. He's going to be super solid. Stop. No, the red rifle isn't coming and stuff again. That's insane. I don't want it. I'm leaving that one at the door.
You're up, young man.
I went mild on that one. We talked about Derek Brown in our last episode of top 10 positional rankings and how high that we were on him. And a lot of that comes from projection of his 2023 season, obviously being injured the 2024 season. 103 tackles as an interior defensive lineman is insane. And I think he is right there once again. I think he gets his second Pro Bowl nod. And I think he gets his first team All-Pro selection. And that's with so many good interior defensive linemen in this league right now. Chris Jones is still around. Quinton Williams is around. Dexter Lawrence is around. I think Derek Brown is not going to be able to be ignored. The Pro Bowl selection, I don't think it's good. He's going to get a ton of votes, but I still think he's going to sneak in there. But I think that the All-Pro selection is coming for Derek Brown at the very least. Again, I'm not saying that Chris Jones is falling off or Quinton Williams isn't there. I'm actually saying the opposite for Quinton Williams. I think Quinton Williams is going to be fantastic. But I do think Derek Brown earns his first team All-Pro.
Hey, the Bucs just signed Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I saw that he was making a comeback, but good for him.
He ran out of money. He spent $200,000 on his high school football team to win the state championship and then got suspended as the coach for it. So he had to come back and sign that $4 million contract. That way he could do it again next year.
Drew froze up on me. Let's see if he unfreezes here in a second. Oh, there we go. He unfroze. You were frozen for a second.
Was I frozen?
Just for a second.
What's the last thing you heard?
He spent $200,000 on his high school, and yeah, then he got suspended for it. So he had to come back, make more money, do it again. Let's move into the NFC North now. Another extremely competitive division in the NFC. And let's start with the Lions, who are going to have a fantastic season with returning Aiden Hutchinson, who is, despite coming back from a major injury and a disgusting injury at that, yeah, I think he's going to make an All-Pro team immediately, and he's going to record 15-plus sacks. He's going to be running for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he returns with 0 to no issues. I think Aiden looks good. Reports coming out says he looks fine. He only saw 7.5 sacks and 7 tackles for a loss last season. Again, with the shortened season, we all know that Aiden Hutchinson was a shoo-in for Defensive Player of the Year if he just continued his play. And unfortunately, with the injury, he didn't. I think he's coming back for a vengeance. And again, 15-plus sacks and an All-Pro. I think he's going to be very strong running for Defensive Player of the Year. I have a couple of guys who I'm going to be talking about potential Defensive Player of the Year candidates. Aiden Hutchinson comes back, and he's one of them.
You think big things are on the rise for the Lions, huh?
Yeah, at the very least, Aiden Hutchinson, I think he's going to be a huge part in how the Lions perform.
My Detroit Lions prediction starts with 2 apologies, and that's an apology to Brock, and that's an apology to George, but Sam Laporta is this year's tight end number 1, leading the position group in yards and touchdowns.
We talked about our top tight ends, top 10 positional rankings, and we talked about Sam Laporta and how he put up the exact same numbers almost, and a lot of the advanced statistics from year 1 to year 2. some of the blatant statistics in your face weren't there, but advanced-wise, he was there from year 1 and year 2. Not too much change outside of just some of the volume. It's not going to be surprising. You and I both had him very high on our list. So if he does, it would be a little surprising if he leads everyone, including Brock. Is that just how good Sam's going to be this year, or is that a fall off from anyone?
Are you asking me why I think Sam Laporta is going to be better than Brock Bowers this year? And is that a fall off on Brock's part or a rise on Sam's part?
Correct.
Well, not to spoil anything else, but the reason why Sam Laporta is going to be so good this year is to do with one, Sean Genty, running back, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
So
I can take a guess on what that one is.
the reliability on Brock Bowers isn't going to be as high this year. A more balanced, structured offense is in line for the Raiders this year, in my opinion. But we'll get there. We'll get there later.
Okay. All right. Let's continue on. Vikings. I think that for one reason or another, people forget that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league. I know they want to give the crown to Jamar Chase after the fantastic season he just had. Absolutely. He had a great season. But Justin Jefferson is still the best receiver in the league, not by a mile, but I do think he does have a gap on everyone else because of how talented he has been. And I think he's going to lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns with 15 plus. I think he's going to show his dominance. I think he wants people to crown him again. I think Justin Jefferson is egotistical. I think he wants the accolades. I think he wants everything that comes with that. And I think first team All-Pro, 15 plus touchdowns, 1,500 yards is in the books for Justin Jefferson. Yes, I know J.J. McCarthy is throwing him the ball, but I think he's going to be targeting that number one quite a lot. I do think there's going to be a little bit of a fall off for Jordan Addison because I think Justin Jefferson is just going to get the looks 9 times out of 10. I think he's going to have a monster season. I think he is going to be going for the Triple Crown. He's not going to get it because JSN is going to lead the league in receptions, but he's at least going to lead the league in touchdowns.
I believe everything you just said about Justin Jefferson's ego, what he wants, his desires, and the type of player he is. Unfortunately, we are not going to have one of the best quarterback classes in the history of the NFL. J.J. McCarthy does not have the magic of last year's quarterback class. He fumbles as a check down merchant, and the Vikings end up with a top 10 pick in the NFL draft next year.
Honestly, I feel like it's one way or the other, right? You're either...
I watched almost every snap that JJ took
Yes.
in college. I want him to be extremely successful, but I'm just going with the odds at this point. The quarterback class that he was a part of was historic at this point we're looking at. And there's got to be one guy. And I'm going to bet that it's JJ because.
I mean, we saw it on our rankings when we were doing the pre-draft process a couple of years ago. He's not up there in terms of the talent level, the arm level. He didn't have to do a lot in college. It was all just laid out for him. Hopefully the year does something for him sitting down, the injury, unfortunately, but sitting down, hopefully the time does well for him. I'm not saying that he's going to be fantastic, but I think he's going to do enough for at least Justin Jefferson to do his thing, which I think Justin Jefferson can do his thing with anybody. So
let's do the Bears next. I want to save the Packers.
Okay. I think the Bears are going to have a trials and tribulations season with Ben Johnson. I think they're going to be really solid on offense, and I think there's going to be some questions on defense and what they can or cannot do. So I think that the Bears are going to trade for a top-tier edge rusher by the trade deadline. Spoiler alert, I think the guy they trade for is going to have a disappointing season this season because of holding out and not really practicing. But Trey Hendrickson does want out of Cincinnati, and I think that comes in way of trade to Chicago. Again, I think he is going to have a disappointing season. I'll get to that, spoiler alert. But I do think that they trade for a top-tier edge rusher. They struggled against, or their pass rush struggled this last year. The Bears defense is supposed to be their staple. You look at the names, and the names pop out to you, and they're great. I think it comes down to scheme. And if they can't get it right, then I think that pass rusher is coming by trade deadline.
Boy, I hate that. I hate that for my team. I don't want Trey Hendrickson on the Bears. I hate that. So, nope. I agree with you on that. Don't want to see that. My Bears prediction is a little freaking, sorry. My Bears prediction is a little freaking crazy. You ready for this? Caleb Williams leads the league in interceptions.
Oh, yeah.
While also throwing for over 4,000 yards this year. We are going to witness the new version of famous Jameis, 30-30, leads the league in interceptions, throws for 4,000 yards. Ben Johnson is going to have this man trusting his arm like nothing else, and it's going to lead to some poor decisions, but it's going to be entertaining as all hell. So, leads the league in interceptions, 4,000-yard passing.
And is another one that I switched my prediction partway through, and I did have a Caleb one at one point, and my prediction for Caleb was that he overall, to the general consensus of people, the general public, has a disappointing season. It's still called overrated. It says that he sucks. But the people that watch the games like you and I, Caleb has a good year. He has a solid year, nothing spectacular out of this world, but a solid, super solid year and a step in the right direction. So that was going to be my Caleb Williams take. Was that going to be the experts, the people who actually love the game itself and watch it, say he has a good year, but the general public says he's still overrated and still sucks. So that was going to be my take. I hope Caleb does well one facet or the other. I hope that he continues to develop the 4,000-yard thing. I think it bodes well. Leading the league in interceptions, though, on top of it, that screams Mr. Trevor Lawrence, because he did the exact same thing. So it doesn't bode well for that one. So I hope not. As long as it's entertaining, that's all I care about. All right, you ready for
What you got for the pack?
I think that the Green Bay Packers running back number 2 out of USC, Marshawn Lloyd, I think he's going to solidify himself as the running back 2. First of all, I know Emmanuel Wilson has had some hype here and there, but Marshawn Lloyd, I think he's going to solidify himself as the number 2 running back. And not only solidifies himself as number 2 running back, I think he is going to touchdown poach away from Josh Jacobs. And he is going to score 8+ touchdowns on the year. Didn't really do a whole lot last year, roughly around 300 yards, 2 touchdowns as the backup. But I like Marshawn Lloyd coming out of USC a lot. He was one of my favorite running backs to actually watch because he's incredibly entertaining. I think he is going to touchdown poach away from Josh Jacobs a little bit and solidify himself as that number 2 officially. Again, 8+ touchdowns on the year for a backup running back is significant, and I think he's going to do it.
You don't think they can afford to give Josh Jacobs 317 carries again? Because I agree.
Yeah,
That's a crap ton of carries.
No way.
Hey, I think if you look at the Packers and you look at their young quarterback, and they have roughly 4 or 5 number 2 wide receivers with Christian Watson ready to step up as the true number 1 on that team. Just kidding. And the defense that has potential, I think that they are just missing one impact piece to take this team to NFC Championship contention. And so there is going to be a bombshell trade before week 1 of the regular season, and it's going to start with a new player wearing number 11 for the Green Bay Packers, and that would be Mr. Micah Parsons. Come on down.
Yeah, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. Oh man!
If you look at teams across the league that have a ton of young talent that can afford to part with the draft picks and have a plethora of draft picks to make the trade, the Green Bay Packers are right at the top of the list. Now, whether Jerry would trade him to the NFC remains to be seen, but we all know that old man is senile as hell, and at this point, he might trade him away just for a chance to throw some more money at his Netflix special. So that would be my Packers prediction, not my Cowboys prediction.
If you took Jerry Jones and let's back up. If you took Yoda and you just painted him white, painted him Caucasian, that's what Jerry Jones looks like, quite literally. He's a quite literal bag of bones. He frustrates me to all hell, and I can't even go into it completely right now. Micah leaving is, I think, an actual real possibility. And to the Green Bay Packers would be pretty entertaining considering that they have a decent pass rush out there. So adding an elite number 1 guy, I think would take them to a whole nother level. It would take any of their secondary concerns out of the question if their pass rush can get there first.
Yeah, man, I was out for a nice Sunday lunch this past Sunday out here in Utah. Tons of families there. Quiet place, really good. And then you got me and your dad in there screaming about Jerry Jones in the middle of the restaurant. So I already battled out this with him. So yeah, that caps off the bold predictions for that division. But also stay tuned for a message from our sponsor, because I'll be right back. Whoever that sponsor is.
Yeah, whoever that sponsor is. Manscaped, BetterHelp, anyone, please sponsor us at this point.
All right, my dryer does this really weird thing where it'll buzz, like, give me 5-minute warnings. And then when it's done, it buzzes for like 60 seconds straight, so you know it's done. And I figured it would pop up in this. So let's go. Turn.
All right. Last NFC division before we get into the AFC. The NFC East, the one I've been trying to avoid the entire time because it usually creates the most controversy. This is probably my hottest division, I would say, when it comes to the hot takes.
I see.
Yeah, every single one has a hot to medium ranking onto it. 3 out of the 4 have hot rankings on it. So we can go ahead and start off with the reigning, defending Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, where I'm going to say that the defense that ranked first in the NFL, 18.1 points per game allowed, 5th in pass defense, I think they're going to take a step back for one reason and one reason only, and I think that there is going to be a small, minuscule sophomore slump from their 2 sophomore corners, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. So I think there's going to be a step back for those guys right there, and I think it's going to have the Eagles allowing 3,700 total passing yards over the entire year when they didn't even allow 3,000. 3,700 this past year would put them bottom 10. And I think that's potentially where they are going to rank. I think there's going to be a step back from their linebacker out there. I think there's going to be a step back from their corners. I think the defense is going to be solid still, and the offense is going to be doing their thing with all the weapons that they have over there. Obviously, Saquon and AJ and Devonta Smith and their offensive line and Dallas Goedert and everyone, except for a couple of exceptions. But for the most part, I still think this is going to be a good team. I have them winning the division still, being number 1 in the conference still. But I do think that their defense, their corners specifically, take a step back.
They spent the offseason hanging out with Deron Bland, huh? Sophomore slump?
Sophomore slump, man. It happens.
Hey, do you know what hasn't happened in 20 years?
What's that?
The same team won this division back-to-back years.
That's true.
So I'm qualifying this as a spicy take. The Eagles win the division for the 2nd year in a row, snapping a 0-for-20 streak over the last 20 years. Their defense is fine. Their offense is unstoppable. And they pretty much have this division wrapped up by week 12.
With the exception of the Commanders, I think, are the only ones that have real contention into competing. I think that's it. I think the other 2 don't have a shot at winning the division. Not at this point.
Yeah, you know what? Swapping out Deebo Samuel for Scary Terry doesn't impress me much. So we'll see how it goes for the Commanders this year.
Well, let's go ahead and continue on with another hot take for me. I think that that Terry McLaurin is either off of the team before the season starts or by midseason. And if he is even on the team, I think he has a bad year where he drops 7, 8+ passes this next year, which would be astronomical for a guy like that. I think he's not going to. Anytime guys hold out and they go into the season, they usually don't do super well. And that's not because they got paid. It's because they're not practicing. They're not with the team. They're not doing their job. And because of that, usually the people that do that, by the time the season starts up, it doesn't bode well. We saw it last year. We saw it the year before that. We saw it the year before that. We've seen it the year before. It happens over and over again. So I'm not hoping injury on Terry McLaurin because that is usually the direction it goes. I think he's closer to a bad year than an injury-filled season, because that's not what I want for any of the players. So I'll say bad year over that.
I'm going to continue to hitch my wagon to players that I bang the table for during the draft process. And the Browns released their depth chart this past week and had Shador at number 4, which I think is a little bit of a joke.
That's insane.
And they just signed another quarterback today. So I don't really know what's going on down there, but
They don't.
I know I was right about Jaden. I know I was right about Jaden Daniels. And even though the Eagles corners hung out with Deron Bland this offseason and they're going to take a step back because they were sipping on his Kool-Aid, Jaden Daniels spent 0 time with CJ Stroud this offseason. So there will be no sophomore slump for him. He is going to finish top 5 quarterback statistical categories, despite the fact that the win-loss total overall won't be as great as we're hoping. The production and stats will be there from Jaden Daniels.
That's another one that could compete with Kyler for the rushing title for quarterbacks. But I think it surprised a lot of people how much Jaden didn't run this last year, even though he has the ability. So it's almost like, when is he going to break out that ability to the full potential? But also, Jaden showed he didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to be this electric guy who lights the league on fire with his legs. He does it with his arm, and he showed that last year. And I'm with you. I think he's very possible to do it again. I just had to back up the sophomore stuff, obviously, with the CJ Stroud stuff last year, and I had to reel it back in because I got excited about CJ. So kind of took a step back. I'll let you take the reins on that one.
And before Texans fans get mad at us for this, we know that every wide receiver that suited up for you guys last year was hurt. It's not a CJ Stroud ain't it, or he flashed his first year and he doesn't have the talent. We know he has the talent. We're just talking about statistical production here. So, Giants?
Yeah. I got a medium one. Russell Wilson throws fewer than 15 touchdowns, and he gets benched midseason for Mr. Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart's going to be absolutely starting by the end of the season. I don't think it's going to be 1 or 2 games. I don't think it's going to be like Penix last year. I think it's a legitimate, potentially half or more games than Russell Wilson. I don't think he's going to perform well. We know what Russ can do. And you do it with a less talented roster, I don't think it's going to go over very well, because unless Malik Neighbors just goes out of his mind and scores 15 touchdowns for Russell Wilson, that's the only way that he gets that. And Malik Neighbors might quite literally have 1,000 yak yards and a total of 1,500 yards this next season. Jesus, man. Am I hinting at yours?
Russell Wilson is done. He's atrocious.
Yep.
But the Giants' defense is good enough that the Giants make a massive swing in the trade market. And your leader in quarterback starts for the New York Giants this year is not Russell Wilson. It is not Jackson Dart.
Deshaun Watson. It's who?
Kirk Cousins to Malik Neighbors.
Oh, wow.
That is my prediction for the New York Giants this year.
Did
you say Deshaun Watson? Colin Kaepernick.
I think they both have I think they have the same chance at this point to come back. Yeah.
When that tweet goes out every year, Colin Kaepernick is still training and is ready for a comeback in the NFL, even though he hasn't played in the NFL in 17 years. Like, if I was running that social account, I'd be like, I'm not typing this out and sending this shit anymore.
No.
Okay?
Doesn't get clicks at this point.
We're not doing this, okay? Johnny Manziel is not coming back to the NFL. Like, no, it's not happening, okay? I love Johnny Manziel.
Right.
It's not happening, man. I wish the Cowboys had drafted him. That'd have been so much better for the timeline than paying Dak and having him have a $78 million cap hit next year. But I digress. Kirk Cousins, New York Giants, Malik Neighbors.
I like it just because obviously he's QB2 right now in Atlanta, and I think you and I are both on the same page where we think that Penix can have a good season. I'm on board with the Penix thing 100%. So I don't think Kurt's going to start again in Atlanta unless, God forbid, injuries come about for Penix. I think his time there is done. So having him move on to elsewhere, it's a real possibility, and New York really isn't that outrageous. Or Deshaun Watson.
I tried to not have too many negative predictions this year just for players because I want everyone to stay healthy and everyone to have a great year. But Russell Wilson can just pack his shit up and go home. I'm tired of him.
I'm with you.
So,
moving on to
you know what makes me happy?
Good.
Happier than anything? Do you know who has been at 49ers practice this offseason a bunch and hasn't been to one Seahawks practice? Richard Sherman. He's a 49er guy at heart.
he is.
Forget you and your Legion of Boom. All right. Let's move on past Russell Wilson.
You and I have
That's the whole division, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's one more that I got indoctrinated into, and I've been forced.
Oh, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep, at my heart.
We're them boys.
I think you and I have one of the same players in our predictions for the Cowboys. That was one of the ones that we did talk about. The Cowboys entered the offseason with the question of who's going to run the ball, and they exited the offseason with the exact same question. But they did pick up another receiver. And I think they're going to throw the ball a lot, especially with the defense being potentially shaky, especially at the secondary position. And who knows what the hell's going on with Micah at this point. I think George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb have explosive seasons to the point where they both have 1,100-yard years. Both of them, not 1,000. I think both of them have 1,100-yard years. At the very least, I think CeeDee's going to have more than that because CeeDee is CeeDee and he's going to command a lot of it. CeeDee's going to lead the team in receptions. Pickens is probably going to be somewhere around the 75 to 85 point. That's just where he lives at in those long bomb situations. But I think he's going to touch roughly around 1,100 yards, both of them. So yes, Dak is going to have damn near 5,000 yards passing because they don't have a choice because we're going to be coming back from down by a lot every single game, and our running game is non-existent. I think both those guys are going to have great years.
Yeah, my prediction for the Cowboys is that George Pickens leads you guys in touchdowns and receiving yards. Not receptions, but touchdowns and receiving yards. If you look at the offense as a whole, if you look at the tight end, the wide receiver group, and reality is we know Dak can run the ball a little bit. Sometimes he runs too far and the clock runs out in a playoff game, but hopefully he's learned from those mistakes. And if you look at what NFL teams did last year with the resurgence of the quarterback or the running back, I'm surprised that you guys didn't invest more at the position. You had the opportunity last year. There was a ton, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. There was a ton of options to get a running back. Not as many this year, but who knows? Maybe just throwing the ball 50 to 60 times a game is the way for the Cowboys to get back into postseason contention this year. Either way, I think George Pickens have a hell of a year.
Yep.
Hopefully he doesn't have the Steelers curse of a wide receiver that leaves the Steelers and then ruins the entire dynamic of the next team he goes to because he's a psycho case. Martavis Bryant and the likes. I won't even mention the other guy because he's a clown. Well, you guys had Martavis, though, so maybe the streak is broken. I don't know. He never got off the practice squad, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I think George Pickens has a big year with the star on his helmet.
Yeah. If you're ready, we can go ahead and move on to the AFC. Is there a division you want to start with?
Let's start with, you know what? Actually, I don't really care. Start with whoever you want. I got spice all over the place for the AFC.
I have the West on my list starting off. So let's go ahead and start with that one. And let's start with the reigning divisional champions, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Start with them. I'm going to double down on my Patrick Mahomes #1 quarterback next season talk. And you can laugh all you want. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, okay? Don't make fun of Kermit, all right? I think he's going to throw for 5,000 plus yards. And I think he's going to be in the running. He's going to be voted 2 or 1 for MVP. I think with what Worthy could potentially do, obviously we know that Kelsey is going to take a step back. You and I have had that conversation. Still in the top 10 of tight ends, but he is going to take that step back. But Worthy's going to take a bigger role. My biggest concern is how long does Rashee Rice get suspended for? If he does get suspended at all, that's my biggest concern there. But I think we're going to see a better year from Patrick Mahomes. It was not that long ago that Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he had a subpar year throwing below 4,000 yards. I think he turns that around post 5,000, and he's going to be in MVP talks very heavily this year. Again, I'm doubling down on that conversation that we had. I hate when you're silent. It's probably the worst.
At the end of the season, the discourse around the Chiefs is going to be, has Patrick Mahomes fallen off as the Chiefs miss the playoffs for the first time in a million years? It's my prediction for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, man. So what, they rank third in their division? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be as good as last year, obviously. I don't think they're going to be nearly like... They got a lot of luck last year and a thing.
You don't think the Broncos can win 11, 12 games this year?
No, I think they can, absolutely. I just think Kansas City's going to be slightly better than them.
Yes. We shall see. I'm excited.
Slightly better than them. And I think they're going to be better than them in the division, which gives them the 2 spot. I think you and I are both on the same page, though, about the Chargers, right?
Is that your next one?
Yeah, this is a super mild take from us because we both know how we feel about the Chargers. Maybe some people don't, but it's a mild take in terms of they're going to win 12, 13 plus games this year. They're going to be fantastic. But I do think that they are a team that reaches the AFC Championship this year. I'm not saying they're winning it. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying I think that role goes to another team that wants it more.
Would you say that you like the Chargers roster as it sits?
Yeah, I think so.
So when the Adam Schefter tweet hits your phone that the Chargers have agreed to a trade with the Washington Commanders to add Scary Terry to that roster, and they go on to win the AFC Championship, we will reference back to this conversation.
Oh, man. I like that a lot. Damn. Oh, man. That's Terry plays on the outside. Ladd plays in the slot and does his thing. Damn, I like that a little bit too much. I didn't even think about that. That's crazy, dude. He might look good with a bolt on the side of his helmet. I like that a lot, man. That's great.
Rumors that they're adding Keenan Allen too, which, I mean, at this point, I'm not sure what he brings, but with his ability and his route running and add in with Ladd, and if you added Scary Terry, watch out.
No, I'm with you because anyone who's watched the podcast for any amount of time knows how we feel about Ladd and the quality of player that he is. And I think Terry is a great receiver. I still am just worried about the holdout situation. That's it. Guys who hold out usually don't do well for the next season. If he gets out of there early, I could see good things. You want to move on to the Broncos?
Sure.
I've had 2 where I've doubled down on where I think they're going to be from 2 of our last videos that we've had, our episodes that we've had. I'm not going to double down on something. I'm just going to make it known that Sutton's going to have a full season this next year. I think he is going to play the entire year, and I think he's going to have his best year to date. I think he's going to post 1,200, 1,250 plus yards, 6+ touchdowns this next year. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he's going to be great. I think Bo Nix is going to be great. If you look at the potential of Nix's growth with obviously Sean Payton and his play calling, Denver's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And if Bo can take it to the next level, I think Sutton's going to be right there with him. The biggest problem that I see with him potentially not getting the 1,200, 1,250 yards is 12% drop rate and then some target potential push back and forth between Marvin Mims, because I know he got a lot of looks towards the tail end of the season. But I think that the 1,250 is very possible for him.
I agree with you in terms of the explosive season that Bo Nix is going to have this year, but it's not on the back of your guy. Once again, couple of apologies here. Sorry, Brock. Sorry, George. But Evan Ingram is your tight end number 2 in this Sean Payton offense this year.
Well, we talked about our positional rankings for the tight end. That was one I think I had a 10, right? Where I was like, man, I could see it, man. There's something about just Evan Ingram being over there in Denver that just does something for me. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like he could do some big things. And 2 is big things. Number 2 is huge things. But it wasn't that whole lot long ago where he had over 100 receptions as a tight end over there in Jacksonville. What's the problem? Because he's not the safety blanket, right? Evan Ingram can very comfortably be the 100+ reception safety blanket. And I think that is what Denver's potentially missing right now, is that underneath guy who could take a lot. Yeah, I don't hate it, Number 2's high, but that's what makes it a hot take, right?
I just think every great team on third down, the Cowboys are going to CeeDee Lamb. The 49ers are trying to find Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Like, every great team has that go-to guy. And
Right.
Mims, I like him. Cortland, I like him. Evan Ingram is that guy on third down for a young quarterback in Bo Nix. And he's going to have a huge season, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Everyone's favorite contentious team, the Raiders. This one is a negative. You tried to say that you weren't trying to go super negative with your takes this year. I'm going to go negative with this one. I've been nice. I feel like generally pretty nice to the Raiders this offseason, giving them an 8-9 record, just barely missing the playoffs, but having a good year this year. I still think that's where I stand with the Raiders. But I do think that Geno Smith is going to throw 15-plus interceptions, and I think he is going to be the guy that leads the league in interceptions. Not Caleb Williams, like you said. I think it's going to be Geno. I think that when you look at the secondaries and the defenses that he plays in this division, they're very strong. Denver, Kansas City, LA, these are strong defenses that put a lot of pressure on the quarterback to not make mistakes. And Geno is mistake prone, and he is in a harder division. No disrespect to the NFC West, but the AFC West is a harder division that is more competitive, that is going to have 3 playoff teams this next year. And I think he's going to struggle again. 15-plus interceptions. Going to lead the league in interceptions this next year for sure.
I don't think this is going to come up right because of the reverse camera, but AJ 2K.
As a rookie.
AJ 2K. Not CJ 2K. AJ 2K. Total yards.
Okay. So we talked about, and because of how this is going to be broken up, some people won't see that. We talked about that Brock isn't going to be the number 1, or now, if they're watching this divisional way, or the number 2 tight end this year. And we talked about why is it that Brock is not going to be the number 1 guy over a guy like Sam Laporta. Go watch that portion of the video if you're not watching the full-length version. And you said, spoiler alert, it's not fully because of a step back, but it's because of a guy named Ashton Genty out there. So total yards, what's the prediction on receiving yards? Because we had a lot of conversation about how you felt about him as a receiving back this next year. So what's your prediction for yards wise as receiving?
My biggest thing with him is just the size, but I just feel like if you look at the wide receiver options, if you look at the quarterback option, I just think there is going to have to be we know what defenses are going to try to do. So let's get the ball into his hands on these screen passes. Let's look at some of the Kyle Shanahan offensive stuff with Debo, pop passes, the push pass. Let's get the ball into his hands as often as we can. And there may be some discretion between, that's really a running play. That's not really a pass, et cetera, et cetera. But I would think that if you told me he rushed for 1,400 yards this year, 1,500 yards this year, it wouldn't surprise me. And then if he just had a couple of those really long pop passes, a la Malik Neighbors takes a screen pass 85 yards for a touchdown, I could see a lot of the offense this year revolving around that. And
with the pressure on Brock too.
I think that's what it's going to take for them to be successful this season. And to be honest with you, I'm of the mindset that he's not going to play 10 years in the league at a high level. I don't even know if he'll play 8 years in the league at a high level. So just ride him now and get what you can out of him. And AJ 2K.
All right. That's our last one in the AFC West. Let's move on to the South, where I do have a couple hot takes for the South. I have a medium and a mild take that I think a lot of people predict, unless you're a Titans fan, and you definitely don't want to hear that one. But let's go ahead and start off with a medium take, and I have the Houston Texans, another one where I'm just doubling down on some of the stuff that we said of our positional rankings, and that is going to be Will Anderson records 15-plus sacks, and he makes a Pro Bowl. I don't think an All-Pro selection is in the works for him, at least not first-team All-Pro. I think there's a lot of good edge rushers. We talked about how good the edge rushers are in the NFL in that positional ranking video. But I think we ranked him somewhere in 5th, 6th, somewhere in that range. Again, 15 plus sacks. I think it's his breakout season. He had 11 sacks, 16 tackles for a loss last year. I don't think it's totally unheard of for him to get that 15, especially playing against weaker lines in the potential in the Titans. Not sure where they stand with their offensive line, but there's still a lot of question marks with some of their guys. The Jaguars' offensive line is not super duper strong. The Colts do have a strong offensive line. There's that. But regardless, I think Will Anderson is the type of guy he's gonna get his way this year pretty frequently.
Yeah, I said this in the positional rankings video, so I didn't want to use it as my hot take, but every year there is the guy, it happens in the NBA too, with making the all-star team, where you talk about him as an all-star player. You talk about him as, is he the defensive player of the year? And they don't get it that year, and then they're a shoe-in next year. I think Aiden Hutchinson is the defensive player of the year this year, but Will Anderson is right on his tails as the guy who probably deserved it more or just as much. But since he hasn't been in that conversation before, the voters don't give it to him.
Yeah.
So he's going to be that guy this year. Now, that's not my prediction, but just to piggyback, I have a huge belief in the head coach. I have a huge belief in the quarterback. I have a huge belief in a lot of that stuff down there. Unfortunately, they released their depth chart this week, and it doesn't look like John Mechie is climbing the ranks over there, which makes me sad.
Yeah.
But one newcomer to the team at the running back position is just absolutely desperate to remind the NFL who he is and what he's about. So my prediction for the Texans this year is Nick Chubb goes for 1,000 yards and 10 plus touchdowns.
I love that. I love Nick Chubb, man. That's a story
Me
everyone
too.
wants.
Me too, bro. Me too.
I think every
I don't know why, man.
that.
Hey, who would you like to go watch a football game with? Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. I just really love those guys. So
Get it on the record. Drew loves dudes with thick thighs.
Chubbs.
And subs. Let's move into the Tennessee Titans, where I have my mild take. The next two I have hot takes for, which are probably two of my hottest takes I have as well. That I would rank a couple of them as like super ultra spicy, and I think that those two rank there. But a mild take. I think Cam Ward is going to struggle in his rookie year. I'm not a big believer in Cam Ward and what he could do. I think he's going to be 12 plus interceptions, and he's going to be sub 3,000 yards passing. I think he's going to have a poor season.
Bryce Young rookie season?
All right, bro.
Yikes.
The comparison is, frankly, it's Anthony Richardson in terms of the body, the play style, all that stuff. I'm not huge on Cam, especially being the first overall pick. I think there was a better quarterback out there to be the first overall pick, and he was drafted in the 5th round, and he's 4th on a quarterback depth chart in Cleveland. I'm not sure what's going on there. Just like you said earlier, I'm not a big believer in Cam, so I'm going to double down on that. The sub 3,000 yards passing and 12 plus interceptions, I think, is where Cam's going to go. Not a lot of weapons offensively for Tennessee, so not sure where you're going to be throwing the ball to.
That's certainly a take, man. Because you're predicting him to have a shaky season and them to not be any good, I'm just going to read my prediction as I wrote it down.
Okay.
Cam Ward's shaky season has Tennessee thinking quarterback with their top 5 pick in next year's NFL draft. A la Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals.
I think it's possible, man. I'm not there. We didn't get a lot. We didn't be able to go through our draft rankings this past season because of life and how we ended up. We both moved out of California but close to the same time, so we were able to put a bunch of pressure on the draft like we did the year before. So we were able to get a lot of our draft takes out there. But Cam Ward is, to me, he is not the guy. Super developmental, and you're throwing him to a role to start immediately. It's not working out super well for Indy. We'll definitely get back to that and Anthony Richardson.
Well, and Will Levis is out for the season now with shoulder surgery. So you don't even have the ability to be like, oh, maybe we don't throw him into the fire to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Jags.
I think the Colts take is probably my hottest take, and it's probably the dumbest take too.
Okay, let's go. I like dumb.
So
you do that a lot.
I had the polar opposite take for this guy. I had one side and I had the other side. And it was really negative for Anthony Richardson. My original take was that Daniel Jones would end up starting more games than Anthony Richardson. And then I started to cue into the what's going on at Colts training camp, his footwork stuff he's really worked on, his mechanics themselves. And he looks better. And his mechanics and his footwork look better. And I'm going to put some of my eggs in that basket. And this is probably one of my dumbest takes. I think Anthony Richardson actually has a really good year, and he gets close to 4,000 passing yards this next season. He gets only about 3,800 to 39. I don't think he reaches the 4,000, but I think he gets close to 4,000 passing yards, and I think he rushes for 800 rushing yards on top of it. I think he has a 4,500 total yards season for the quarterback. He's been making leaps and bounds when it comes to his accuracy, and the mechanics come with that. Obviously, there's a lot of belief in the coach for the Colts and the offensive scheme that he can go in and cook up for him. I think he could put him in a position that can actually win games, that can actually make him successful. How much Anthony Richardson can or wants it is the question. A lot of his leadership stuff has been one of the biggest concerns about him, taking himself out of a game. All of that is huge concerns and has been the biggest concerns for Anthony Richardson outside of obviously the injury stuff too as well. If he could put it together, actually some of the training camp videos, if he can put it together this season, I think he can have a good one. So I wanted to be more positive, and I gave him close to 4,000 passing yards and 800 rushing yards this next season.
I will put a pin in this as to say, I hope you're correct.
Yeah.
I love me some AR-15. I want you to be right. But my prediction for the Colts this year is that they're all sorts of confused, and 3 different players start 4+ games at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts this year. I believe the coach believes in his system and what it should look like, and I think he's going to continue to stick parts in there until it looks the way he wants it to look. And it's going to lead to a lot of confusion down there in Indianapolis.
Yeah, man. You have a lot of weapons
Especially
out there
with
too.
And I don't mean to bring this up in a negative light, because rest in peace. But the Colts owner was of the Jerry Jones molds, where he had his fingers in on everything. And we don't know if Jim Irsay was pushing for Anthony Richardson. We don't know what the involvement there at the ownership level was. And now that's unfortunately not going to be there. Who knows what the head coach decides to do this year,
right,
with his system he believes in.
No, I'm with you. I think the Colts could be a successful team if they could put it together. We know the defense is solid. The offense has weapons. The offensive line is good. The running back's good. You have Pittman and Pierce and Downs, and you have a talented roster. It's about if the guy really charging the helm on the field is good enough and mature enough and puts things together for them to be successful. So, I'm there. All right. Our Jaguars takes are about the same player. Again, another one that you and I talked about. It is about the most talked about player for the Jaguars, and that's Travis Hunter. See, their depth chart just came out too, and Travis is listed as wide receiver 1. Corner 3, which I wonder, is that more nickel corner is he listed as, or is it? I'm curious about that one. I thought that was interesting. I think to one singular team, Travis Hunter is going to be the most valuable rookie to one singular team, but I don't think he wins offensive or defensive rookie of the year. I think to one singular team, he is the most valuable, but I don't think he wins either award, because I think that there's guys who are going to be making a more significant impact on just one singular side of the ball, like Abdul Carter, like Ashton Genty. I think those guys are going to be pretty big favorites to win those awards because of the impact they can make on the one singular side of the ball. I think Travis is going to be great on both sides. I just think that voters are going to be confused on how to assess awards to be given out there. And I think there's going to be a lot of outcry from fans if he does win an award, and if there's some favoritism because he plays both sides of the ball and he does well more on one side than the other, but he wins the award for the lesser side. I think there's going to be some interesting discourse around Travis Hunter this year, the award system.
Yeah, I'm not interested in rookie rankings with this prediction. I'm interested in overall positional rankings, and I think Travis Hunter is a top 15 wide receiver and a top 15 cornerback this year. Statistically wise, if not maybe snaps wise. So is he going to be top 15 in snaps at both positions? I'm not sure, but I think when it comes down to the raw stats overlaid over analytics and what it looks like, he's top 15 in both positions, wide receiver and corner. This reminds me a lot as a Sacramento born and raised fan of showing up to watch the Kings lose 50 games a year and just hoping that DeMarcus Cousins was going to go for 40 every night to be entertained. So that's what I think goes on in Jacksonville this year. They're going to put him out there to be entertained and drive fans to the ballpark. Right. And that is my, if you wanted a spicy overall team prediction, I think this is Mr. T-Law's last year in Jacksonville, but I wanted to talk about Travis Hunter. So
yeah,
top 15, both positions, NFL.
Let's go ahead and move on to the AFC North, our second to last division that we're going to be talking about. And let's start it off with the Baltimore Ravens, where I have a medium take. I think this is one where it's like, oh, well, I wouldn't be surprised, but also on the other side, it's like, well, he's just been nothing but performing his entire career. But it has to stop somehow, right? I think Derrick Henry is going to average below 4.5 yards per carry this year. He had 4.8 yards per carry last year. He's 31 with wear and tear, over 2,000 career carries. It has to stop somehow, right? Father Time catches up to damn near every single person, except for Tom Brady and LeBron James. Outside of that, it doesn't really catch up to, it catches up to every single person outside of those two for the most part. And especially with running backs, they have the shortest shelf life out of any one of the positions. And Derrick Henry's been doing it well for a while now. I still think he's going to be good. I still think he's going to be a 1,000-yard running back, very comfortable. I think he's going to be closer to 12 to 1,300 yards as a running back. But I do think that he's going to be less efficient than he has been in his previous seasons.
Yeah, if you want to see what it looks like when Father Time has caught up to a player, he continues to play, just tune into some San Francisco Giants baseball and look what Justin Verlander has done this year at 42 years old. One of the best pitchers of all time, and it ain't looking good for him. So I went defense on this one just because I feel like if you look at the Ravens defense and you look at their secondary, Kyle Hamilton and what their secondary looks like, there's a very clear person that defenses are going to try to target this year. He's just a little guy, but Ravens fans are going to celebrate as Nate Wiggins leads the NFL in interceptions this year.
What a surprise from last year, right? He wasn't supposed to be that good because light corners at that size shouldn't be that good, and he was very good. And we just saw the Commanders the year before that draft the lightest weight-wise corner of all time, and then he was awful. And then Nate Wiggins gets taken. Everyone goes, "Oh shit, here we go again," and he's fantastic.
I think teams are going to try to pick on him and see if it's for real, and it's going to lead him to have massive opportunity to fill up the stat sheet. So, speaking of Commanders, I went with Jaden because that's my guy, but I just want to put this in here somewhere. That way it's recorded. I'm pretty disappointed that I didn't do something surrounding Luke McCaffrey because I got some belief in that dude, and I'm glad you brought him back, that team back up to jog my memory. But yeah, Nate Wiggins leading the league in interceptions for the Ravens this year.
I think that's our only corner take, correct? Outside of like individual corner take, correct?
Dude, I had a Christian Gonzalez thing for the Patriots, but I needed something spicier. So
it's so hard with the corners because, first of all, corners at an elite level, staying at that number 1 spot or 2 spot or 3 spot, being in that inside that range is such a short time for corners. They're still solid and good, but being inside that elite category for more than a season or two is so difficult. And when they do reach that pinnacle, they don't get targeted. So you can't be like, oh, Passertain, he leads the league in interceptions. Like, it's not going to happen. He's not going to get targeted. Like, it's not a thing that happens. As soon as you turn that elite corner, and they know you as a shutdown guy, they stop testing it as much. So it does make it a little bit difficult, the corner takes. So I'm glad you at least had one.
Your side? There's actually a statistic that's gained popularity in like the last 2 seasons, and it's amount of snaps on the field without a target thrown your way. And it's a weird statistic because like there's weird, like, I think it was 2 years ago I started looking at it, and like Dre Greenlaw was like top 5 of like player on the defensive field that doesn't get targeted. And that's just an aberration, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. But obviously your Surtains, and a couple of years ago, your Jalen Ramseys, like those guys are really high on the top of the list. So I'm hoping as we go forward with more advanced analysis on these things, we can start to see some more statistic-based numbers on when a player is on the field, routes run against him, and how often that player is targeted. That way you can see more of an impact that a player has to shutting down half of the field. So, yeah, that is my only corner take, just because when I look at that defense, if they're going to attack it, I think he's the one, which should lead to, you go back to Trayvon a couple of years ago, he gave up 1 million yards, but he led the league in interceptions.
Yep.
So it gives you the opportunity there.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is a callback to one of the guys I already talked about at this point. I said I was going to rebring him up at one point or another, and here it is. Trey Hendrickson, I think, is going to have a disappointing 2025-2026 season and records fewer than 8 sacks. And I've already talked about it once with guys who hold out and then they go into playing. I am staying away from stuff where I say, this guy's going to get injured because he held out. I don't think that mindset is very good for the fans, for the people, for the players. I don't like doing that. So I would rather say Trey Hendrickson has a disappointing season, fewer than 8 sacks, not being on the field for the majority of training camp is going to impact him pretty heavily. But I did make the prediction, obviously, earlier of the Chicago Bears potentially trading for Hendrickson midway through. I still think he has a disappointing season even there. I think past that, I think he'll be better, but I do think he'll be disappointing.
Okay. I like it. All right. I want you to chant with me. Are you ready? MVP.
All right.
MVP.
MVP. MVP. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
Joey Burrow has it locked up by week 15. Clear cut, concise. Joe Burrow, MVP of the National Football League.
Yeah, you said last year that Joe Burrow would put up MVP-like numbers, and that he did. But what comes with MVP is your team's record as well. So obviously he wasn't going to get it. But if the Bengals are better this year and they get into the playoffs and they have a winning record, I think it's more than possible that Joe Burrow finally gets one for himself. I think he deserves it at this point, man. He does.
Hey, you know what? I'm just excited to see Justin Herbert take down the MVP in the AFC Championship game this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, man, that'd be so much fun. You know what? I would much prefer that than our Chiefs, our Bills, Ravens, AFC Championship game. I think that's pretty exciting. Yeah, I like that. All right. You ready to move on to the Steelers?
Yeah, man. Steelers, super simple. Sorry, Mike. The streak is over. Enjoy your top 10 draft pick in the NFL draft next year. No playoffs.
That's exactly where I'm at, too. They missed the playoffs, and they have a negative win percentage for the first time in Mike Tomlin's career. So I'm with you, man. I just, again, you look at a team like this and their roster, and Rodgers doesn't give most of any people with a brain confidence at this point. Cool. You got DK Metcalf. Congratulations. DK is a higher level player than George Pickens, but they play in a very similar type role. And the way they play and the position they play and where they play at in the field. So you got a slightly better upgrade for that. But outside of that quarterback, questions at running back, I think their offensive line is going to be fantastic. That's a take. I think this Pittsburgh Steelers are going to probably have a top 5 offensive line this next year. So that's a positive take that I could have gone with for the Steelers. But I'm with you. They're going to miss the playoffs. They're going to have a negative win percentage this next year. Steelers fans are going to be very happy about that one. All right. And
what for the Browns?
I got another mild one. I got really close to talking about Shador and starting about mid-season, that the depth chart stuff was just all smoke and mirrors at this point. But I just went mild. I think Myles Garrett is going to have a 19-plus sack year, and he's going to make another All-Pro, and he's going to be in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. He only had 14 last year, 22 tackles for a loss. 18, 19 sacks hasn't been done by Myles Garrett yet in his career. A guy like TJ Watt has done it, and I think Myles is of that caliber, if not better. And I think it's his time to blow that out of the water, and we can have another discussion about, is someone going to break the sack record? And I think Myles is going to get close. I'm not sure if he's going to get it. It's a really hard number to get to, but I think he's going to get at least close to it.
$157 million dead cap hit, largest in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
That's my prediction.
Can you even mitigate that at all?
Can you mitigate a $78 million cap hit next year?
No, probably not.
Wow. You think that dude's restructuring?
No. I don't think so.
The only way Deshaun Watson is restructuring is if he does the Bobby Bonilla from the Mets, and he's like, all right, you can pay me $5 million for the next 40 years.
Oh.
That's the only way.
Oh, no.
Which even that is only $200 million. Like, that's just a little bit more than he was getting anyway.
No, we're going to have a Deshaun Watson day. No. What have we done? Oh, fuck.
That's great. Your Deshaun Watson day. Oh my gosh. Because ESPN tweets it out
every
year.
year.
Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Why did I just sneak into existence? Is it too late? Like, can we just let me start over? Hot Broncos take Shador Standards starts by week 8. Huh. Deshaun Watson day. Oh, man, my back is hurting. I think I need to go get a massage.
That's crazy. Oh, Jesus. Oh.
I wouldn't. That's the shit you can't say when you're produced by Locked On or the Blue Wire Network or something. You can't make any
Man.
massage jokes. But if we get canceled, we just lose 150 subscribers anyway, so that's chill. My mom will still watch.
Yeah, right. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our last division. It is the AFC East. Funny enough, this is usually the first division we always start off with every single time.
Yeah, we didn't. We have a very good one for last. So.
Yeah, I do have a lot of...
Unless you got...
I don't have anything super duper hot, just pretty mild ones. I got one that's a little hot that I know you're not going to like very much because I'm pretty low on the team, but that's okay.
Oh, the Bills are going to miss the playoffs.
No. Yeah, no. Buffalo Bills. Pretty mild take or medium, depending on how you feel about the player. I think James Cook is going to have a 1,300-yard year. Last year, he had about 1,000, just barely over 1,000. I think it was like 1,060-ish, but he did have 16 touchdowns. I think that touchdown number does get reduced, but I think he is sitting around 1,300 total yards. Or excuse me, not total yards, but 1,300 rushing yards. I think he's closer to 1,800 total yards, and I think he's going to play a huge role in the Buffalo Bills offense, making a Pro Bowl, not All-Pro, very good running backs in the league right now, but does make a Pro Bowl for the AFC. Don't see any other way of it going. He doesn't have anyone really super talented behind him that's putting a lot of pressure for the running back position, so he's getting all the carries, and he's also getting the backfield carries, out of the backfield catches as well.
Yeah, man, I originally was loading up Josh Allen wins back-to-back NFL MVP takes, but then I went and checked, and it's already been done 5 other times in history. Brett Favre won that thing 3 times in a row. That's crazy to me. So I figured that wasn't as spicy because it's been done. And then I was like, well, what if something crazy happened and Josh Allen threw a touchdown pass to himself? And then I remembered, oh, yeah, he already did that against the 49ers, so that's not that crazy. And I actually, too, went with a James Cook. I had him at 1,400 yards this season. I know I'm a little concerned because he's holding out right now and he wants the contract, but this is a team that's expected to compete for a Super Bowl, so I think they'll get it done. And I think James Cook has a heck of a year to lead them into potential Super Bowl talent contention.
Yeah.
Not predicting the Bills to get there this year, but we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and move to the Miami Dolphins. I think that Tyreek Hill has another step back this year, and I think he's going to have 7, 8 plus drops this year. He had 5 last year. I don't think it's out of the question to say that he might have 7 plus. I'm not super high. Actually, I'm pretty low on the Miami Dolphins this next year. I think there's a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of the players. Tyreek with another year of age and just overall lack of, he's just a big dickhead overall, and his leadership sucks. I think a lot of that stuff is going to get in his head a little bit, and I think he's not going to have such a great year.
Yeah, man, I'm just putting this out there because I'm hoping for good things. I believe that Tua has a bounce back year this year, which leads to him starting 15 plus games for the Miami Dolphins, and he wins NFL Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I originally had a Tua thing as well. I said he was going to lead the league. He was going to have a full season and lead the league in completion percentage because that's the type of player that Tua is. I am going the other way because I figured that one of us would probably have a Tua thing because it's pretty easy to point it out.
Just rooting for the guy.
No, absolutely. We can go ahead and...
There's certain guys, man, I'll always be a Baker Mayfield fan just because of the adversity he went through and what he's done. And personally, I'm hoping Sam Darnold doesn't affect my team negatively, but he continues to do great things. The Geno Smith story was great for a couple of years, but I'm ready for that to die. The bounce back stuff is always great, and Tua through, I don't want to say no fault of his own because we've talked about him and the bad decisions he's made as it pertains to his health and the way he's gotten down, but you can't exercise out of concussions. You can't. Those things just happen. So through no fault of his own, he's had the injury concerns, very scary injury concerns. We've had conversations about the NFL stepping in and saying,
yeah,
this can't happen anymore. But I'm hoping for a bounce back year for him. 15 plus games started, and I don't expect them to do much. I don't really like the roster, but their best player in Tyreek Hill has gotten older and older, clearly, as the years have gone on, and he's probably going to regress a little bit more this year, to your point. But I just hope he has a good, healthy season. So that's what I predict.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it because, yeah, I'm with you. The Tua thing, we talked about at length during the season previously, and we hated what was going on, and it was a huge talking point for us. So it'd be nice to see him back healthy and actually doing his thing.
Let's do the Patriots.
All right. I think that Drake May continues his natural progression and being a good quarterback, as I think he should be, because I am very high on Drake May, as we have at length talked about. 2,200 yards and 15 touchdowns last year. I think he throws for over 4,000 yards, but I do think he has 10 plus picks.
You think he's going to throw a lot of interceptions?
I do think he's going to throw a lot of interceptions because that offensive line still I don't have a ton of faith in.
Drake May forces the issue to Diggs, leading to tons of interceptions, and Stephon is out by the trade deadline due to locker room drama.
Ooh. Is it really surprising that Stephon Diggs has locker room drama at this point in his career?
Not at all. And I think taking away that very vocal voice of I'm always open, I'm not getting my share, he's not looking for me, leads to a more balanced offensive attack for Drake May and the Patriots, and his second half season is exponentially better than the first half of his season while he's trying to force the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in Drake May. Not as much as I believed in Jaden Daniels, as we've covered extensively, but I do believe he's going to be a good quarterback in this league, and I'm excited for him this year.
Absolutely. And last, and certainly least, the New York Jets. Do you have a take for your...
That would get us canceled too.
Yeah, do you have a take for your best friend at playing quarterback?
Who's my best friend?
Your best friend, Justin Fields.
Oh, he's right back here. Yeah, I got a take, but you go first.
I think that Quinnen Williams is going to record 13 plus sacks, and I think he's going to be in strong contention for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's going to get it because I think some of the sack numbers by some of the guys we've already talked about, Will Anderson, Aiden Hutchinson, Myles Garrett, all these guys are going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year with a lot of sacks. I think Quinnen Williams is going to affect the game more than just the 12, 13 sacks, as he's going to rack up tackles for a loss. And I think he is going to have a better year than last year where he only had 6. And a big part of that is some of the Jets pass rushers coming back healthy. I think it's going to make a difference because last year he did have a double team rate of 25% of his snaps. He was double teamed. I do think he's going to get a little bit of pressure off with some of his line help coming back healthy. So I'm hoping that he does something. All right.
I'm glad we saved this one for last. This wasn't planned out. But is there one thing that year in and year out we can count on the Jets to do?
Sucking.
The Jets are going to jet,
which
is going to lead to the Big Apple debut of one Arch Manning in 2026.
You think it comes out of college for that, huh?
New York. Yeah, bro. The NIL is great, but this is New York we're talking about. This savior of this poverty-ass franchise. Yep. I do believe.
I hate that so much for Arch. It's not even funny.
Oh, I know. If I'm voting for the player, I'm like, yeah, sorry, dog. I just screwed you.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have to be the best quarterback in college football next year to get this. As long as he's top 3, the name recognition, what he brings to the table, the media coverage, he's just got to be up there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it. All right.
That was pretty good, man. That was pretty good. Nothing too crazy.
We have 32 teams, hot takes for every single one of them. We had mild takes. We had in the middle takes that could expect it, could be surprising. And then we have our obvious spicy ones that we got out of the way for the season. I expect us to have at least one more episode before the start of the 2025 to 2026 season. Drew and I haven't talked about exactly what that will be quite yet. I'm sure it's going to be something along the lines of an award prediction show because I know that we have.
Well, we're going to have an emergency podcast when Micah Parsons gets traded, aren't we?
Yeah.
Even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll probably have that too, unfortunately. But we will probably have an award predictions show like we have had in the past. So it would not be surprising if we went with that one more time before the season started. If we end up going with more than just one more episode, we'll see you a little bit more often than we expect. But after that, once the season gets underway, expect us being here every single week for coverage. Right after the weekends, we're going to be right on top of it. So I'm pretty excited for the season to start up because, again, meaningful football means meaningful life. That's what life really revolves around.
Yeah, football season, it's on its way. What's the first Thursday night game this year? Who do we kick the season off with?
I don't know, some losers.
Is that the defending Super Bowl champions versus the Cowboys? Is that first up on the docket this year?
It is. Yep.
I'm excited for that.
I'm not.
And the best part is I'm an hour ahead out here in Utah, so that game starts right about the time I'm going to be home, Traeger fired up, got I don't even know, brats, burgers, chicken wings, whatever, and I will be dancing on a field of green victory.
I will unfortunately be working because I work nights, so that is unfortunate.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I'm going to have to listen to it the whole time. But yeah, week 1 schedule is going to be awesome. I'm sure we'll end up getting into that before the season starts as well. Obviously, Dallas, Philly, Kansas City, LA. We have divisional matchups in Tampa and Atlanta. We have our first look at Genty in Las Vegas, and we get to see what Drake May does week 1 of the season in New England. We have our poverty matchup with Arizona and New Orleans. And our next poverty matchup with Pittsburgh and New York. Yeah, we have great things. San Francisco, Seattle play each other, Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, LA, Baltimore, Buffalo, Chicago, Minnesota. We got a lot of good things week 1, man. I'm excited for it. It kicks off September 4th, so we are officially less than a month away from meaningful football. But again, we'll be back talking about all that, giving out our predictions for the awards and many more things. And once the season starts, week by week, we'll be right here with you guys, giving you guys a breakdown of everything that we think about. So make sure that you hit subscribe on YouTube. Head over to TikTok for the short form content. We'll be posting more regularly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts once we are week to week once again. But until then, make sure you show us love and support on those other platforms. Drew, before we head out, do you have anything else to say?
Good.
All right,
Let's get it.
let's get out of here.